Well, they're packing it up here at the United Center, and I think Illinois should pack it up here and leave this place for a couple years until they're good again. They've now lost 10 of the last 16 here with a 77-67 loss to number 19 Ohio State. Derek, a familiar script for Illinois. They looked good for about 25 minutes, and then a second-half run by the other team. Caleb Wesson was huge for Ohio State just being on the court. But it's kind of the same story after same story. What does Illinois need to do to change that story?
That's the problem with having a young team and trying to figure it out, and when you only have two guys really that you can rely upon. And it was good to see Trent Frazier bounce back from some struggles, Kipper Nichols step up in a big game, but you really need some help, whether it be Io or throughout the board. You just didn't have it, and you could tell that in the second half when fouls became an issue that this team couldn't sustain it offensively. Defensively, they really, once again, kind of like Gonzaga, took them out of their offense. This is a really well-coached team, can run a lot of stuff offensively, but that last 9-minute stretch of the first half, Illinois was in control of the game, couldn't sustain it, and that was ultimately the issue.
Chris Holtmann took over this job 2 years ago. He's 17-3 in Big Ten play. He inherited some talent, right?
But he'll admit it.
Yeah, he made the most of it. Brad Underwood, not as much talent, but hasn't maybe made the most of it quite yet. What do you think Illinois needs to do? Can they turn this around, or what needs to happen to kind of spark this?
Yeah, that's the question, and I think that I still believe this will be a different team in January and February. Then again, I think this league is deeper and maybe better top to bottom than we thought. Some of these teams are going to be tougher, but it really has to be figuring it out for 40 minutes and being able to sustain it. I think there's been stretches where this offense has looked good. There's been stretches where the defense has, but you got to be able to be more consistent and have some freshman growth, because Io isn't where you want him to be right now. Allen, Samba, and you got to get Tev back from suspension.
He's got to play.
Yeah.
He's got to play. So, all right, 3 stars tonight. Kipper Nichols, great to see. It seemed like he gained some confidence in Nebraska. 18 points tonight, a season high. He likes the NBA arenas. He scored 31 at Madison Square Garden, 18 tonight. It's good seeing him be assertive. And in the postgame, he looked confident. He looked like the right-hand man for Brad Underwood. You got to have that the rest of the year from him.
It's all about consistency. He can be the best player on the floor in a given night, and he can completely disappear. So I like that his effort was at a different level, I think, in this game. His confidence now offensively, being able to shoot the outside jumper, and what he was doing off the dribble was really good. And this team is completely different when Kipper Nichols shows up. Can they get it on a night-to-night basis? That's going to be the difference for him and for this team. But this was another positive step after Nebraska.
Trent Frazier, not the most efficient, had 16 shots. I like that, though, compared to the 7 he's been having recently. 18 points, went out late in the game with an injury, seemed sore but came back in. That's the Trent you need. You need assertive Trent. You need him to hunt some shots at certain points of the game.
Absolutely. He was way too passive against Nebraska. Came into this 4 of his previous 6 games, had 2 points or less in the first half. I mean, this team isn't going to be a good team. They're not deep enough. They're not good enough to sustain that when Trent Frazier's not good. So he has to be able to find his shot. I thought he did a pretty good job of it tonight. Second half, not as good, but Trent Frazier has to be aggressive, and obviously you're going to want him coming back healthy after that hard spill late in the game.
We're going to give the 3rd star. We had to dig deep a little bit.
Yeah.
DeMonte Williams will give it 7 points. Nice to see him score a little bit, 6 rebounds. Otherwise, typical DeMonte, but he's scoring a little bit more. All right, we actually go back home. Illinois has only played 1 home game since November 13th against UNLV. This is the stretch where they have to make hay. We're not talking about postseason, but just to gain some confidence there and to get this program moving in the right direction.
Winnable games. 2 winnable games. Going to have some practice time. They play the next 3 or 4 Saturdays. You have UNLV, East Tennessee State, and then that vaunted bragging rights game where those teams might deserve each other right now, which will be entertaining. But it's a really great opportunity for some growth for this team, going back home and getting able to spend some time in Champaign, not eat some hotel breakfast, as Underwood said, earlier this week.
Love you, Chicago, but Illinois needs to stay away from here for a while.
Yeah.